Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV and the final word on Republic of Ireland nil, Finland 1. Well, it's not the result we all wanted or expected. Paul, what was it like being in the stadium?
It was a bit surreal because you had to get in there before 3:30. So, obviously the game was kicking off at 5, so you were in there a little bit early anyway. And it was literally just the media there, and it's the first time I've been in the ground. I'm never normally in the ground before the warm ups or anything like that. Like I do enjoy being around the Ballsbridge Hotel or somewhere beforehand, before actually going into the stadium and kind of mixing with the fans and just kind of having a laugh and a bit of banter or whatever, and then walking down, down the road, but just fucking thousands of Irish fans, all buzzing to watch the game or whatever. But it was just real flat. Like it did really feel like it was just a training match going on, or when they have the open days where you can go watch the train. It kind of had that feel to it. Didn't feel like there was a big game being played at all. It was just kind of strange because as I said, I got there for 3:30. I spent an hour and a half just kind of sitting around. I got to see players coming out and looking at the pitch. That's how early I was, and then got to see them doing the warm up and stuff like that. Duffer putting them through their paces before the game and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just kind of mad. Obviously, it was the first game you've missed in a long, long time because you're in quarantine since you've been in Sofia. So what was it like for you?
Yeah, it was very strange for me. I mean, as you said, it's actually the first game I haven't watched live since 2007. So it's very strange to watch. I mean, I watch a lot of football on TV, but not, I suppose, not games that really matter, and not a Republic of Ireland game. So it actually felt strange with the build up. I was watching it on Sky, but really wishing I was there. And I don't know, feeling just sitting at home, uh, not, and it didn't feel like a match because I wasn't there. It didn't feel like a match for me either. Now I'm probably the opposite to you in that I know I drive my mates absolutely mental on this because I'm a terror for going to games early. I mean, I'm never late, and I know I drive people mad, and people, there's probably, if any of my friends are watching, they're probably saying yeah, but so an hour and a half would not be a problem for me. In fact, I'm always in the stadium. Probably, well, I'm probably in the stadium when it opens. It often only opens 90 minutes before kickoff, but I'm certainly in the vicinity of the stadium a couple of hours before kickoff. Maybe it's an OCD thing or something that I just don't want to be late or miss any of it. So, and it felt really strange, and I don't know, it just a bit surreal as well. I mean, I, I, I was in the stadium on Thursday, and that it's also been very difficult actually watching a game, even though I got used to it with some of the League of Ireland games. But um, it feels different in a bigger stadium behind closed doors and with such a tiny crowd. I mean, I think was the limit yesterday 200 people, so it must have looked really empty here.
Oh yeah, it was totally empty. Like obviously just facing across was all the flags and stuff and the thank you Jack stuff from all the fans and stuff like that. Yeah, it was weird. Like I've been to the Viva kind of at those things where there's usually like a player interview or whatever, kind of a sponsor event or something like that. So it kind of had that feel to it, but did not have a match day to feel to it. But kind of onto the game and just with the lineups, I suppose. My starting 11 show pretty much had everybody in there except Dizzy was obviously on the bench and Ida came in. So I got the midfield three right, as much stick as I got before the game. I actually got that right, but that was the midfield three I wanted to see. I felt as though it brought a bit more energy to the team. But when you saw that being announced, what were your thoughts? Malumbi making his debut.
Yeah, so I think Robbie Brady was, maybe I go back to look at the other way. Robbie Brady wasn't a surprise. I think he was really good and really positive off the bench in Sofia. Malumbi, I was happy with as well, like yourself. I think he had a fantastic season on loan at Millwall, and he's definitely one for the future. So I was delighted to see him. Uh, I had reservations about Harry Arthur, and I've had him in the past, and I have even more so now in the holding role in midfield. I think he possibly has a place in the team. but I don't think it's in the number 6 or the holding role. So that was probably a surprise to me. Now, I don't think James McCarthy had a great game in Sofia. And I think we can go back and forth. Maybe the players are still in pre-season, and I was talking afterwards about players getting minutes into legs and needing to get some game time. So hopefully we'll be better in a month. So yeah, so maybe I was a bit surprised with Harry Arter in the holding role. That was probably the big surprise for me.
Yeah, well, kind of everywhere else, it seemed to kind of, he obviously went with the same front three that played against Bulgaria. He said it after the game, and we will touch on obviously his post match press conference and kind of all the other stuff surrounding that. But he did say he was experimenting. But I actually thought Harry Arter had a really good game. Obviously from where I was sitting, but maybe on the telly it looked totally different. From where I was sitting, he was getting stuck in. And another thing, that obviously people at home wouldn't know. You could hear everything the players were saying. Like Darren Randolph is just so commanding. It's brilliant. Like you can see why he is where he is. Like everything, I know obviously he's a top level keeper and he has to be taught to his defense, but you could hear literally everything. He had all angles covered most of the time. And Harry Arter was the second loudest on the pitch, and he was the one that was always at the referee as well, which is what we need, is someone constantly, because it's usually Coleman, but he obviously wasn't there. But Matt Doherty kept his place obviously at right back ahead of Seamus Coleman again, so he seems to fancy Matt, and he seems to be his first choice right back in that regard. A lot of people then who've been crying out for Doherty and then moaning, saying that Seamus should come back in, but I mean, I don't think Matt Doherty's done anything wrong, but he's definitely not the player he is for Wolves, obviously for Ireland, because we don't allow him to get up the pitch as high. There was times where he was high up the pitch, but he just wasn't getting picked out, and he was getting frustrated the whole time where I was watching him. But kind of early on, just in regards to chances and stuff like that, I thought we started brightly. I thought Robbie Brady was quite good early doors. I thought Ida started off really well as well. And I have to say, if anyone's watching, I asked him after the game on Instagram, how do you pronounce it? It's Ida, and no more Ida. It's Ida, and that's it.
Okay, I actually didn't think we actually started that well. I mean, certainly watching it on TV, I thought first 10 or 15 minutes, Finland looked on top to me. The Timo Pukki had that great chance and a great save. Anyway, first of all, I fully agree with Randolph. I mean, look, I don't think his place is absolutely in question, and absolutely need him fit and hopefully getting more game time. But I mean, I think he kept us in it, that early chance after about 10 minutes. So
it was a big save,
Finland,
like the Northern Ireland game. It was exact carbon copy of that save. Can't remember who the Northern Irish player was, but it was exactly the same.
Yeah, and absolutely crucial because he was right in on goal. Well, I suppose you can say it didn't matter in the end. But so I thought actually Finland started better. They had more control. They passed the ball much better than us. And we kind of grew into the game. I thought Robbie Brady did okay. I didn't think he stood out for me. I thought he did really well off the bench in Sofia, and I would have him in the team, not just for his general play, but also for his set piece delivery, which I think is still going to be crucial for us. So from that perspective, I was a bit disappointed with the start. I thought the first 15, 20 minutes, Finland were the better team. If anyone was going to score, it was them. I thought we came into the game more, and we grew into the game without. Yeah, I think Adamida holds the ball. I think he's going to be a key player for us, and I think he holds the ball up well. I don't think he's going to start in Bratislava if Didzy's fit and if Didzy's got game time. So I mean, and you caught me on the hop in the preview because I hadn't realised that Stephen had confirmed that Didzy wasn't going to start the game, and I think that may be down to, he had a foot injury, he was at risk, and he did come on obviously, so he was probably only able to play whatever it was. No, certainly no more than 45 minutes anyway. So I would expect Dizzy to lead the line, but I think Adam is definitely one for the future, and he has a lot of good qualities. And speaking of Pookie, I hope that Norwich actually sell him, because that'll give Adam more game time. And I was expecting him to be actually gone by now. But anyway, that's a different matter. So yeah, I thought we kind of grew into the game, and we I don't know if we actually took control, but certainly we got on the ball more. We passed it a lot better. We posed a threat, but I don't think we really opened them up in the first half. Anyway, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I thought when I was saying to you there about we started brightly, I thought the first 10 minutes we were actually the better team. I thought Robbie Brady was getting on the ball and trying to do things, and Adam Ida was kind of getting in behind and running at them. But then obviously on the counter attack they got in, much like their Bulgarian lad the other night, but he hit it over. And I actually seen a picture of Dan Randolph, so it was on his Instagram, of the actual save from Pookie. And if you actually look to the right, there's another Finnish player there that he could have squared that to either way. So it actually makes the save even better, the fact that he actually saved it. So he definitely kept us in the game. But I think after that, then Finland started kind of getting a foothold of it. And then I suppose we started using the likes of Connolly and O'Dowda and started running at them. But I think the fullbacks, they do not link up well with the inverted wingers in front of them. Connolly is a centre forward playing as a makeshift left winger. O'Dowda I think he's a natural right winger by trade. But because he's cutting in all the time, it doesn't really allow Doherty to kind of make those runs that he would like to be then picked out, if that makes sense. Whereas I think if you had a right footer on there, he could play it up the line to Doherty. I think that's kind of where we're lacking in that regard. But this is something Stephen Kenny's obviously trying to work on. But when you look at Connolly, he doesn't link up well with Enda Stevens. Like Enda tries to make runs and Connolly goes to cut in or whatever. But that's just the striker in him. It's not actually necessarily a bad thing that he's hungry to try and get on goals. But I think if you had a natural, say if you had Robbie Brady playing on the left wing or maybe McLean, I think Enda would bomb on ahead of them. Not that I think that Aaron should be dropped by any means, but I just think if you're kind of looking at why maybe our fullbacks aren't getting as much forward or getting much of the ball, I think that's they're getting frustrated with the players that are playing in front of them. I think they're playing with these players for the first time, so they're only kind of getting used to what they're going to do, kind of how they're going to play type of thing. Which the more games, obviously, that'll hopefully click within time, or else they'll have to kind of move it around. And maybe I know McLean and Stevens have linked up previously, so they'd have a good understanding. But Connolly and Stevens, they don't really seem to have a good understanding on the pitch just yet. And same on the other side. And then Doherty is really, we're just not getting him into the game enough. There was one point where he went on one little run and he got pulled back, and the ref never gave it. And I thought, by the way, the ref was brutal for the first 20 minutes. I think he left his whistle in the dressing room. And that was another thing. Harry Arthur went mad at the ref then after that pullback on Doherty. The things went a bit quiet, and he turned around to the ref and he was like, "Ref, what's the stuff?" Like, he clearly pulled him back or whatever. And the ref, he must not have spoken English, but he just was like shaking his head or whatever. Harry Arthur was very, very vocal. I thought he really put himself about. I know you said you don't think he done that well, but I actually think he did. I thought he got involved, he got stuck in, and I think he probably only had our best probably shot at a half on the edge of the box. O'Dowd done a little bit of good work on the right hand side, cut a good ball into the box, and then it was deflected out. It came out to Connolly. He gave it then to Arthur, and he took a shot straight at the keeper. But that was kind of I think our best chance of the half. I'm not sure how you felt about it, but kind of I was going in at half time 0-0 thinking, like I was against Bulgaria, we can beat these here. If we get one, I think we'll get a few. And then I'll let you talk about the second half, but it is what it is.
Okay, yeah. Should just go back on a couple of things on the fullbacks first of all. I mean, and I would give this time because we are playing a different system, and we're also playing, look, a much more passing game. And also on Matt Doherty and the Stevens, they've always played as wing backs or they play regularly as wing backs with their club. Now I appreciate under Mick we played a back four as well, although I mean Matt only started one game at right full. I know he started up further up in Gibraltar. So with the different system and with the way they're playing, I don't know whether it's interesting the way you say it's the personnel more than the system, because I was actually thinking it's more the system why the link up isn't working so well. Um, I don't think Enda Stevens in particular played well over the last two games. Matt Doherty, not so well either. But I'm not really arguing or saying we should bring back Seamus Coleman. I would like to see Seamus Coleman actually in the team, but as part of a back three. That's what I would like to see happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen or but that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Just because I'd like to tighten up the defense. On Harry Arter, yeah, Harry. I don't think Harry played that badly, and I think he has a lot to offer the side. And I think it may be, but I don't see him playing the holding role because, and I'm actually a real fan of the holding role, and I'm a fan of Glenn Whelan, but a lot of the role is about the discipline and the positioning and the covering and the tackling, and I think Harry goes wandering a bit too much, and there was a lot of gaps left. Now, yeah, I take your point. He's very vocal. He adds a lot to the team. He's good on the ball. He's driving forward. So I think he's probably more suited to playing with a holding midfielder as opposed to playing as the holding midfielder. So that would be
So
my thoughts on it.
So you mean like Howerton played just ahead maybe of McCarthy, or like Arthur would be better in that type of role? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So basically,
Okay.
in the role, either if you take it from yesterday, either replacing Robbie Brady or Jay Malumbi, or Conor Horan or Jeff Hendrick from Sofia. So it's,
Okay.
I think we probably look. I think we actually will end up playing 4-3-3 because it's mainly what Stephen plays. I know he's also used 4-2-3-1. And yeah, maybe actually, if he does go to 4-2-3-1 in Bratislava, maybe we then play Harry beside James McCarthy. And I did mention Glenn Whelan, and I'm not necessarily calling. Look, I know Glenn is 36. He's playing with Fleetwood. I actually wouldn't probably have him in the team in Bratislava. I would actually play James McCarthy in as
Definitely.
the number 6. But with a caveat that James, one, has to be fit and has to hopefully get some game time, because I don't know how much we can actually blame some of the performances on the fact the players are in pre-season and they didn't have a lot of time with Stephen. But and it is difficult because it's the first international break we've probably ever had without at least 2 or 3 league games in the players' legs before they come. So you can read a lot into that. And I think someone like James, he had played a lot after lockdown, but then obviously the season ended at the end of July, and he hasn't got much game time since then. So that's probably where I'd be thinking from the number 6 of the holding role. I think James is probably the person to look at. And if he's not available, I have my doubts about Harry Arthur in that position, just because it's such a crucial position for us. And I suppose we had been in a situation, if you go back to last year under Mick, the one thing you would have said about the Irish team is we've been very solid at the back. We have an excellent goalie, I think everyone agrees, in Darren Randolph. But under Mick, we did look very solid with the back 4. And really, I suppose the back 6, as I would call it, with Darren Randolph in goal, the back 4, whether it's Seamus or Matt right full, I think the other 3 pick themselves. And as it was with Glenn Whelan in front of them. Now, if it's the same, Darren Randolph in goal, we can make an argument for Matt or Seamus, okay, and the other 3, and James McCarthy in front of them. But we didn't look that solid in Sofia. So I think we need to see James or whoever plays that role getting quite a bit of game time before Bratislava.
I think there's an argument to be made if Josh Cullen starts the season well with West Ham, or if Connor Coventry maybe does well with West Ham. Between now and next month, they could be drafted in. Stephen's shown he's not afraid to make big decisions like that if needs be. Now, I don't know if he'll bring them in to start them in a playoff, because it's the biggest game since probably the Bosnia game in terms of kind of getting us to the Euros, you know. So yeah, I think James McCarthy's nailed on if he's fit. I think he'll be a much better player once he's playing regularly. If he's got 4 weeks of games under his belt, I think he'll be absolutely
I mean,
fine. I don't think. Sorry.
So I lost you there for a second, Paul. Sorry.
No, I was just saying.
I was just going to say, Josh Cullen.
Go on.
No, sorry. Yeah, I got your point about James. I think he's nailed on. I think Connor Coventry or Josh Cullen are a good shout, possibly to come into the squad. I cannot see either of them starting in Bratislava. I wouldn't rule them out for the Wales or Finland games in the Nations League next month, because we do have 3 games in an international break. So, and I think Stephen did say he was experimenting quite a bit, particularly with the midfield. So, I don't have a problem with that, and I would see maybe the rest of the Nations League as being certainly experimental as well. But Bratislava is probably different than the playoff, as you say, the biggest game since the playoffs in 2015. Well, you probably say the Denmark game in 2017.
Yeah, well, I suppose, yeah. But kind of onto the second half then, and you know, I did think he might have changed. I did think he may have brought Didzy off the bench from the 45-minute mark. You know, I think from half time, I think he probably would have brought him on. I was kind of surprised because he obviously took off. Didn't he take off O'Dowd at half time the other night, or just after half time? Maybe it was after the hour mark. And because he was just, yeah, it was because he faded in the second half. Sorry.
Yeah, no, he faded in the second half. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought he might have made a sub there, because I felt like we could have injected something into their midfield, or maybe up front as well. And he did touch on that as well, like, kind of after the game. But kind of going into the second half, I was thinking, okay, we get a goal here, and we can. I think we could open them up, because they'll obviously come at us then. I think we could catch them on the counter, which they were trying to do to us, and ultimately that worked for them. But I think we had a couple of good chances. We had Aaron Connolly's chance to hit the side net, and it was a great bit of pressing by Robbie Brady. Fell to Adam Eda, and he flicked it out to Aaron Connolly. And I think that was the kind of first kind of signs of what we could expect from those in the future. Now, just those little flicks, they understand each other's game. And I think him getting in, he hits the side net, and because maybe if he's in the centre forward position, he buries that. But look, he will score goals, and in the future, I think he'll be our go-to man in terms of goals in big moments. I think Aaron Connolly will be that player. But right now, we just need to be patient with him. But obviously, he hits the side netting. And then after that, we had O'Dowd that hits a shot from the right-hand side, curls it, and it just goes just wide. And at that stage, then he gets subbed off for Callum Robinson. I think around that time then, is it Jensen comes on then.
Yeah, so I mean, Callum O'Dowd was injured, so he got actually in. So I think he had
straight after that shot though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I mean, and I thought he did okay. I'll just go back to halftime, because I wasn't as happy as you were with the first half, and I thought, look, this is going to be. It will be interesting to see what Stephen does. It's going to be a bit of a test for him at halftime. I think if you go back to the post-lockdown football in general, and just take the English Premier League, which is probably the most what I've watched on TV since then, because there have been 5 subs, you see a lot of changes at halftime. There's only 3 subs in the Nations League, so that's why I think he didn't make changes at halftime in both. Well, I wouldn't have made them in Sofia, because we actually had a great first half in Sofia. I suppose I was wondering if he would make changes at half time, but I thought he might at least wait till the hour mark. Now, you mentioned the chances for Aaron, and I actually thought the 15 minutes after half time, 15, 16, 17 minutes, were actually our best spell in the game. So I actually thought we played really well after half time. That was the bit I was happiest with about our side. And I actually don't think Finland... from my memory and watching the game and my notes in the game, they didn't they were kind of pushed back. That's the one time that they didn't threaten us on the counter attack. Unfortunately, until the goal, and Jensen came off the bench. I mean, yeah, Callum O'Dowd went off injured. I think that would, and so I think that forced Stephen's hand, that one. Jensen came off the bench, and 18 seconds later, he was putting the ball in the net. Now, talk about an impact. I think you have to hats off to Finland on that. But it was a disappointing goal from our point of view. And Jensen, I mean, he came off the bench. He got involved straight away in winning the ball. Then I thought we were poor. I thought we had we were kind of Pookie managed to get the ball when he was surrounded by three players. Harry Arthur, I suppose, is the one I'm maybe a bit too critical on in that case. And he put it out to Taylor there, who went down the left wing, and he did really well and put in a good cross. And unfortunately, Enda Stevens lost Jensen at the far post. And he didn't track his run, and it was a pretty easy finish. So it was a great goal from the finish point of view. It was a bit disappointing goal from our point of view. And I thought it was very much against the run of play in the second half. Although I think my viewing of the first half was we were probably a bit fortunate to go in level. So I suppose maybe from a finish point of view, you'd say they probably deserved the lead. I didn't think they did at that point. So, and I was thinking, look, probably a bit of bad luck to concede, but also very disappointed to concede in that manner, given, well, I think it was an easily preventable goal.
Yeah, but I think that kind of opened the floodgates for them a little bit. They came at us then, and they had a couple more chances after. Obviously, we brought on then Dizzy came on for Ida at that point, and you know, I have to say, Stevens tried to make positive changes when he has made substitutions. He said he'd like to have, you know, substituted some of the midfielders because they got a bit leggy at that point. And I think, as you said with Robinson, that he was forced his hand. McLean came on later on in the game. We'll come to that in a sec. But you're just kind of looking at it. They had a couple more chances after that. Pookie done really well. He kind of flicked the ball. And we were all over the place at the back. I don't know what was going on. Between the midfield and the back, I remember Pookie, he took 3 hefty challenges. One from Shane Duffy. Another one, Harry Arthur clattered him and tried to take him out. And he still managed to get to walk that challenge too. And then he flicked a lovely little ball over, I can't remember who took the shot now, but it was over to the right-hand side. And Dan Randolph makes a fantastic save. Again, if it wasn't for him, we probably would have lost that game 3-0 or 3-1 if some of our chances went in. But he's just, I can't stress enough how important Dan Randolph is to this team. He's just time and time again, he just comes up with magnificent saves, to keep us in games. I know we lost yesterday, but it could have been so much worse if it wasn't for him. You think of the Pookie chance, you think of that save as well. And obviously their goal, there's nothing he could have done about the goal. But then, like, we had our chances as well. Like, Doherty gives a lovely ball into Callum Robinson, who fires. I thought the keeper done well to save that. People would say it was straight at him, but I thought it was a good save. He didn't have a whole lot of other angles to kind of go for. That was the only place I thought he kind of could have put it there at that point. And we were trying to go at them. Didzy was trying to get on the ball, and he was trying to make things happen. And he was kind of coming deep a lot to try and get the ball, which I think necessarily he shouldn't really do. I think he should stay up and be the focal point up at the top of the pitch, because he can make it stick more so than anyone else. Like, I always go back to the Georgia game where James Collins couldn't make it stick, but I felt as though the home game, David McGoldrick could. And I feel as though he needs to be the focal point, especially against Slovakia. But what were your kind of thoughts kind of in that regard, our chances and stuff like that? And Connolly had a good chance as well that he missed it, I think, at the back post.
Yes, actually, Connolly had one that so there was 3 kind of chances. The Callum Robinson one you mentioned. Yeah, I thought Callum did well for that, and I thought the keeper did well. It was a good chance, probably our best one. Yeah, Aaron had one, and he probably needed to take it with his other foot. I think he tried to take it with his right foot, and he just didn't connect properly with it. And the only chance I think they gifted us, because I said in the preview Finland were going to be well organised. Now, I didn't expect them to actually play three at the back. No, actually, I understood since they actually played it against Wales. I didn't realise that. But before that, they'd always gone 4-4-2. And they were very well organised. The one chance they did gift us was playing out from the back, and they gifted the ball to Didsey. And he had a great chance from the edge of the box on his left foot. And again, he seemed to be trying to play it onto his right, and he got closed down. I thought that was actually a great chance as well.
It was, yeah.
But having said that, I mean, we were a goal down at home to Finland, and I didn't think. I mean, you mentioned the examples because, and you mentioned Darren Randolph. He kept us in it, and I think of all the players, he's totally exempt from any criticism over the last two games, without
100%.
question. I think 100%. He's so, but we were already a goal down, and yeah, they could easily. They seem to have the better chances. Just the game was a lot more open for the last 26 minutes after their goal, but they did seem to have the better chances, and I didn't feel we really had a go at them. That we didn't get the tempo. I mean, I'm comparing it maybe, and again, it's a different style of football as well, which can. And I'm not even sure if I'm putting my finger on this correctly, but if you go back to the games under Mick, I mean, and we were, look, we certainly played very defensive football and very, say, old-fashioned or football. But when we went behind, we really had a go, and there was a good tempo. And okay, I know in those cases we had the crowd behind us as well, but you felt like there was that we were actually really having a go at teams, that we had a good tempo, we were putting some pressure on, and that we at least looked like we were going to score. It never looked like we were going to score. Except for, again, going back to one set piece, a Robbie Brady corner on the right, and Shane Duffy had a free header, which unfortunately was just over. And actually, if you actually remember back to Sofia with about 3 or 4 minutes to go, and this was around the same time, it was the same situation. Robbie Brady corner, Shane Duffy free header, and he just missed. And of course, a few minutes later, Robbie Brady corner and Shane Duffy equalises. And I was thinking, wow, can we do it again? But unfortunately, we didn't get the chance again. So, but again, that was just a set piece, and that was, I don't know, is a set piece still our biggest threat? Because I don't. Okay, I know we had chances, and if Callum Robinson's one had gone in, or if Didsey's one had gone in, or Aaron Connolly maybe connected better, but I don't think we opened Finland up really. I don't know what did they look. Certainly on the TV, they didn't look under pressure to me. They didn't. They actually looked comfortable, and their central midfield, Tim Sparv and Glenn Camera. I mean, Tim's playing in the Finnish league. He was 3 years at Southampton, didn't make a first team start. Glenn Camera's playing with Rangers in Scotland. They're not exactly playing with all due respects in big leagues with big clubs. Okay, well, I appreciate Rangers are historically a big club, but I mean, at the moment, I think they'd be a selling club, and they looked like world-class midfielders, and they ran the midfield is what I thought, and we didn't get on the ball. We didn't pass our way through them. We didn't open them up. We didn't create chances.
I disagree, Gary, because I think we did create chances because we spoke about chances there. I think maybe, okay, the tempo, yeah, could be quicker, but again, we are in a bit of a pre-season mode. We've never played games like this before where it's been like this. The only time we've played kind of in the summer is either at a tournament or at the end of a season when there's usually a tour to USA or something like that. It's never really been this type of, you're coming in off the back. Matt Doherty was on holidays, signed for Spurs, and the next day he was out to return to duty for Ireland after his break. People are like, oh, he's had 2 weeks off. But it is what it is. Like, the players do need time to get their sharpness back. It's been a long season between the break and then coming back and stuff like that. It's just a weird time right now, and I think we need to all just kind of not get so wound up about it. Oh yeah, it was a poxy result, but I think some of those chances go in another day, we win that game. You know, unfortunately, luck wasn't with us yesterday. It can be better, and I'm hoping it will get better. But I don't think, like, again, it's the same with Sophia. A couple of those chances go in, we win that game, and I don't think anyone's sitting there and people will be lauding Stephen Kenny. Do you know what I mean? So I don't get the kind of the criticism and all the
Yeah,
abuse that he's warranting after 2 games. It's not like he lost both games. I know we were losing right up until the last minute, but we didn't lose the game. You know, I think we still showed great character to get the goal to equalise. Again, not a great result, but look, he's trying to change things. He's trying to change the system. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to happen overnight. But we need to be patient with it, and like we all said that we would be patient, and it is hard to be patient. I will admit, I was sitting there a couple of times a little bit frustrated myself, but we're gonna need time. The thing I'm worried about mostly, not really so much our attacking, but when we're on the counter attack against a bigger team or a better team, I think we will get punished, and that's my big worry.
yeah. Well, I definitely agree with the time, and I think let's just back up a little bit and see and say what was actually planned. And I think some of it is very unfortunate with COVID-19. I mean, if you go back to when Stephen was appointed, and I think that maybe a lot of the reason for the criticism is the very unfair circumstances we've ended up in. The FEI decided, and I actually accept this and agree with this. We've got a home tournament next June. It was meant to be this June, but it's next June, and it would be absolutely amazing and crucial to qualify for that. And I think that's why they went with Mick as a short-term appointment. And then they're looking at Stephen as the future, as a long term. And you're looking at what people have done. I mean, I use Wales as the example, and look what Ryan Giggs is doing. And Ryan Giggs was given time, and I know actually a Welsh guy has been on social media pointing out, I think he went something like 7 matches without winning. Ryan also had to take them. He was very fortunate in that he got a week in China, worked with the younger players, had a few more friendlies. They went to America as well. And many of our previous managers have got trapped at a training camp in Portugal. You will need the time like that.
Mick had one last year.
And yeah, and that, so you're not going to have, especially with players in pre-season, you're not going to have miracles overnight. But I think the frustrating thing is, and this is unfortunate for Stephen, our next game against Slovakia is just so crucial. Now, I don't have a problem with experimenting in the Nations League, and I'd like to avoid relegation. But I think it's more important, and I actually think Stephen was being looked at, and not even the job is to qualify for Qatar. His job is to get things right and to do really well for 2024, because there is a good crop of young players there. It's going to take time. It's going to need to blood people in, and he's changing the way we play football. And I mean, he's playing a totally different style of football than what we played under Mick, under Martin O'Neill, under Giovanni Trapattoni, and going back. And it is going to take time. But the downside of that is people are saying, well, we've a fantastic chance. We've got playoffs coming up against Slovakia and hopefully a final, with a home finals in Dublin. But it's unfortunate the way it's worked out. So I suppose, and I don't even know what the solution is here or what I'm saying. I suppose what I'd like to see is that we go back to just being very pragmatic, keep it very tight, and maybe abandon some of the principles to try and get past Slovakia and try and qualify for the finals. And then maybe experiment, use the Nations League like a training camp. And yeah, if we lose to Wales, if we lose to Finland and Helsinki, or I'd still like to avoid relegation. But even if we get relegated, even if we go down to League C, it's not the end of the world. And I actually, hand in heart, I'd love to qualify for Qatar, but I don't see it. There's only 13 European places. We're probably going to end up as third seeds. Germany could well end up as second seeds. So could end up with a total disaster of a draw and get something like Spain and Germany as your top two seeds, one to win the group, one in the playoffs. And I think our chances, even before a ball is kicked, are virtually zero at that stage. But I can live with that. I mean, if there's progress being made, if things are happening, and I think that's what the FEI decided to do, is to move the whole change of system. And right from, we've talked about this before, right down to Jason O'Donoghue and the under 15s, is change everything. And that's what Wales have done. And now Wales are further along the road and they're seeing the benefits of that. And but Ryan Giggs was given the time. So yes, from things like that, I'd say, yeah. I look, a lot of the mourning is, it does my head in as well. But then another thing I'm thinking, God, I don't want to be that open against Slovakia, because they'd pick us off, and I desperately want to see us playing in the Euros next year in Dublin. It's probably once in a lifetime chance to see us in a major finals at home. And I don't know, what do you think?
Well, I think we got to be. I think what you're saying is correct. I think I would like to see a more defensive approach for the Slovakia game, because, as you mentioned there, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, possibly anyway, that we get to play there, or play here even. But we've two games, so if we have to obviously get past Slovakia first before we even get to the final of the playoff. But I think, as well as that, people need to realize we're a team in transition too. I mean, look at the players. I had a highlights from our Instagram pop up yesterday from under 21 game against Armenia last year, and that was the game which Aaron Connolly, Jay Malumbi, even Troy Alameda, all these lads kind of lit it up in Tala. That 1-0 game where Troy scored, and here they are a year later playing for the team. That's the transition we want. Everybody's been calling for the under 21s to be picked. When Mick picked the old guard, everyone, flipped the lid, went mental. Now Kenny brings in these guys, the younger lads, to try and blood them in, and they're kind of getting action at club level. And then you have people moaning, saying, "Oh, we all we do is play a hoofball, we play terrible football." And then Kenny comes in, tries to play it. We don't get the results we want. We get a draw and a loss, and people are flipping out, saying he has to go. He's out of his depth. He's this. He's that. I mean, where's the in between here? Where, is half the fan base against Kenny? Is half the fan base with Kenny? Was half the fan base with Mick? Was half the fan base against Mick? You just don't know. For me, I want to see the team transition. There's going to be more. There's going to be more transition if you think about it. Jason Knight, I'm sure, will come in. Darragh O'Shea will come in and stuff like that. But I think if John Egan and Shane Duffy don't get it right at the back, Darragh O'Shea could well find himself in that centre defensive position soon enough.
Yeah, I mean, a lot will depend on who's playing regularly with their club as the season
But I think Shane going to Celtic now, you'll see a much better Shane Duffy in a month's time as well, because you'll get that rust out of his system.
Yeah, he'll get the rust out of his system, but I think part of it's going to be a challenge, and I'm not even sure if Celtic is the right club for Shane, because Shane is more, say an old-fashioned defender, because he's an excellent defender, but he's not. I don't think Shane is the best and most comfortable with the ball at his feet, and I don't know if he's as comfortable with the high line that we're trying to play, to push up, push up, push up. Now, I think Celtic will end up playing a high line as well, because in a lot of games Celtic are playing, they're playing the likes of Ross County and Motherwell and all this, and it's normally a case of they're attacking for 90 or 95% of the game, and they just need their defenders to be switched on and not be caught on the break. So I think maybe Shane is more suited to a team that's under pressure. But anyway, we'll see how that works out. I mean, he hasn't kicked the ball for Celtic yet, but he's a crucial player for us, and certainly away from home in the playoffs, semi-final and hopefully a final, when you will be under pressure against decent sides. You need somebody like Shane at the back, because just to be there, to get the blocks in, to clear balls, which he's actually excellent at. I was also following a lot of the mourning. I'm not sure if it's a Mick McCarthy, Stephen Kenny thing. I wonder, is it some of it is, I mean, if you take in general Irish football fans, I know we've talked about this before as well. Probably a big majority of fans of our national team are probably bigger fans of the likes of Liverpool or Manchester United. A lot of them wouldn't be aware of Stephen Kenny, because I think I've seen a lot of the League of Ireland fans getting, I don't know, really passionate about trying to defend Stephen Kenny, and maybe some of the other fans saying, "Well, we don't even know who this guy is," and I don't think that's fair at all. But anyway, that's where I'm probably seeing the divide at the moment. I think it's way too early to make any sort of a judgment on that, and I think we're both in agreement on that. But and I think it will take time. But I have a concern that the next game. Well, I have a concern that there's a lot of negativity. I think far too much negativity at the moment. If things go wrong next month against Slovakia, then it could get a lot worse.
Well, I think it kind of, for me, it's reminiscent of Steve Staunton's reign. Just that negativity, no matter what he did, it wasn't right. And I think that we need to just get behind him. Like, if it doesn't go to plan next month against Slovakia, there's a longer term vision there. I know we all want us to win every game. We all want us to get to the Euros next summer in Dublin. But like, as I mentioned, the team is in transition. He may well go back to basics just for this game, and I think I think you has to have Seamus Coleman in the team for this Slovakia game, just purely down to his organisation at the back, because we were caught lots of times at the back in terms of both ends of the fullbacks. I mean, you look at the goal, the end of his caught, but I don't think that wasn't Enda's man really. I don't think to be marking. I think that was he not a striker who came on. So I felt as though one of the centre backs should have probably been dealing with that. But anyway, I just think Seamus brings a lot more organisational skills. Matt's much better going forward now at this point in time. But I think, again, Doherty will benefit from playing a back four for Spurs. And I think that'll help us, I think, as well for the Slovakia game if he's picked in the back four. But I would like to see Seamus come back in just purely down to the defensive stability. You spoke there about us needing to be more defensive, and I think having Seamus in there from a defensive point of view, he is a better defender, and he has been a better performing defender for a longer period of time. He's never really let the team down. His worst game was probably against Switzerland when he got sent off, and that's ultimately when he lost his place in the team, and hasn't really been back in to do, because Leo Connor was there against New Zealand, then you had Matt Doherty against Denmark, and then the two games recently. So Seamus hasn't been in, but he's been in and around the squad, and he always travels over, and he is a real leader in that squad.
Yeah, well, I said it in the talking points. I mean, I'd actually like to see us go three. I don't think Stephen will, but I'd actually like to see us go three at the back and play Seamus that way, and use Matt and Enda as wing backs. But if you're asking me to make a call at right full back, I think we'll see who's available, who's fit. I think both of them are actually excellent options. It's probably, it is our best position. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Except maybe goalkeeper, but Darren Randolph is just undroppable at this stage. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, I think we'll leave it at that, Gary. I mean, obviously, we want to see Stephen Kenny do well. I'm sure there's a rake of comments that we can go through afterwards. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, or especially if you're a returning watcher or subscriber. If you're watching on Facebook, give the page a like or a follow. And if you're watching on YouTube, give the channel a subscribe. And if you want to check out our new merchandise as well, head over to irishfantv.myshopify.com. I'll put the link below. And yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Are you with Stephen Kenny? Are you against Stephen Kenny? And why are you against Stephen Kenny after 2 games when he's only lost 1 of those games as well? Let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. And if you want to follow us, you can check out our social media above our heads there. And we'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.